I'm Natasha Del Toro, and this is America ReFramed Digital. I recently Skyped with John Richie, director of Shell Shocked. John, what inspired you to tell this story?
Well, back in 2008, I was working with a group of teenagers in New Orleans, and we were working on this anti-violence campaign. It was an after-school program where we taught the kids that are in the documentary how to make their own documentary films. As I got to talking to them more and more, I realized that each and every one of them had lost somebody to gun violence, either a family member or a friend. So by the time that we were actually doing interviews with the teenagers that are in the film, I had known them for about 6 or 7 months and had several conversations with them about the issues around gun violence and about the stuff that it contributes to it.
And they became authors in the film too, right?
Yeah, each one of the kids is credited as a camera operator because probably about 15% of the footage in the film comes from footage that they shot themselves.
What was the most surprising moment for you as a filmmaker?
One of the things that I assumed was that most gun violence had somehow or another was related to drugs. And after working and talking to these teenagers for a good 12 months, one of the things that I started to see and what they were telling me was that the shootings were actually over the same thing that kids in any kind of community would fight about. The difference being that a lot of kids don't have the access to guns like they do here.
One of the things in your film that stuck with me was the guns cost so little. I mean, it seems like it was pretty easy for them to get their hands on them.
Absolutely. The gross oversight of the way that we regulate guns in the United States is really shocking. Since the laws are state by state, whenever a state passes really good gun regulations, it opens up an opportunity for gun trafficking across state lines. In order to deal with the gun violence that we see in the United States, that we need to look at it as far as the solution from a preventative standpoint rather than a reactionary standpoint. I think oftentimes we neglect a lot of the kids, especially the ones that are growing up in the neighborhoods that are most affected by gun violence. I think that one of the things that Shell Shock does is that it gives a voice to the population that's most affected by gun violence. It puts a human face on the victims in this situation. I think that that's one of the things that we get away from oftentimes in our mainstream media.
It certainly did put a face on the victims, and you did a great job of showing all the different sectors in the community. They're working together to try to solve this problem. John, thank you so much for making this film and for being here with us to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thanks for checking out America ReFramed Digital.